got 2 conference rooms, north and south. Each one has a mixer and a parametric EQ. I've created this groovy little control panel here for the technicians to use. I've created a groovy little control panel with the EQs on it for the manager to use. Manager only. And I've created a groovy little control panel here that we're just going to ignore and delete. Or not delete, but close. Not going to use that one. Only use the 2 that are for text and system EQ. How do I set this design file up? How do I set it up so that I can have different login names with passwords, or without passwords, or your choice, to give people access to different control panels? It's really pretty simple. I go to Tools, Set Up Design Security Settings. I have to clear the undo buffer before I can go to Design Settings, Design Security, I mean. And now I see this list. Holy cow. I only made 3 control panels, and 2 of them I'm not going to use. I'm sorry, 1 of them I'm not going to use. So what's all the rest of this stuff? Well, the rest of this stuff, technical term, is every default control panel you ever opened from the time you started this design file. It could be a pretty messy list. Usually the first thing I do, assuming that I'm only using custom control panels, because you can actually use default control panels as part of your security setup. Assuming I'm only using custom control panels, the first thing I do before I do security is panel, delete all unreferenced default control panels. I'm just going to take out of memory every default control panel that doesn't have something assigned to it as far as security. We can always get them back just by double-clicking on the control panels. But now, I say Set Up Design Security. Now I only see my 3 custom control panels instead of all those default control panels. Much simpler. The first thing I do is enable security. Off my caps lock. When I enable security, that automatically creates the admin user. There must be an admin user. There's no choice in the matter. It's you. You have to have it. And it wants me to type in a password. Now, 2 things to know about the admin password. First of all, just like all passwords, you can leave it blank if you want. If I just hit OK, then there is no admin password. It's just blank. I can always go back later, hit the Change Password button, and add in a password. That's what I usually do, because when I'm working on the design file, I don't want to type the password 4,000 times. I just want to pick admin off the list and go. When it comes time to actually go on site and install the system, turn the system over to the owner, then you'll want to turn on an admin password. Very important that you not lose that admin password. Reason being, there is no backdoor. There is no override password. If you lose the admin password, the way to recover your design file is to click on File, New, and hope you remember what the heck you did. That's all you can do. In the meantime, we'll leave it blank. The last thing you do for each user that you create is set a start page. What page do you want to have pop up when that user logs in? We'll just pick the text page. What the heck? No big deal. Then we can go through and create additional users. Add new user. We'll create a user called text. Again, we'll have no password for now. We can always put a password on later. We have to assign the access rights for the text. Text get design rights. Nope. Not likely. Text get access to the text page. Yes, that's what they're for. Full control. They get access to the system EQ? No. Staff page? No. System EQ is not for them, and staff page we're not using. So the last thing we do is set a start page. We only have one, so it's pretty easy. Hit OK. Then we go through and add new user again. Manager this time. Leave the password blank, so just hit OK. Manager get design rights? Nope. Does the manager get access to the text page? Yeah, why not? Manager get access to system EQ? Yes. That's why we created it. And again, staff page we're just not using, so don't worry about it. Last thing you do for each user is set a start page. If I'm going to take the time to log in as the manager, I probably want to get system EQ page. Otherwise, why bother? We're going to go ahead and make that the start page. I'm done. Now done setting up security. Everything else from this point on is just icing on the cake. Let's go check our cake first. Do a save as. Don't goof this design file up. And I'll go Tools. Oops. Okay, timeout here. On my computer, every so often Windows goes crazy. It just loses all of its shortcuts. There should be, like over here, File New, File Open. That's Control N and Control O. Why does it not say so over here? Because my computer went crazy. Just fix that real quick. There we go. Just need to do a quick reset all. Then I'm going to go over here and log off. And you can see that log off is Control L. Actually, before I do that, let's put us into operate mode. Nope. Now I'll log off. And it's gone again. It's gone in operate mode too. Let's fix operate mode. There we go. We're going to log off. And let's log back in as the text. Now we see a little glitch here. The first time you launch each user, the first control panel that comes up for them is going to come up not maximized. No big deal. Just double click on the blue bar or click on the icon, maximize it. Done. So can I move the faders? Yep. Everything works. Rock and roll. Gotta love it. Tools. Log off. Log in as manager this time. Again, first time you log in, you get a glitch. Double click. There we go. Can I change my EQ curve? Sure. Great. Go to the manager has access to the text page also. How do I get to the text page? Oops. Kind of forgot that, didn't I? Forgot we need some page navigation buttons. All right, we'll deal with that in a bit. Back to admin. And let's go back to design mode. Okay, so I need page navigation buttons. Well, my personal favorite page navigation button is a text button with a little indicator turned off, control names turned on. I usually make them bigger. Yeah, about like that. And I usually go into the gallery, add some colors. Do a nice dark blue. Call that my button color. And kind of an off-white eggshell. Call that my button text. And a little later, I'll need a button highlight color. Over here to the gallery. Place button color. Drop it on there. Button text. Drop it on there. And last thing I need is gallery add text style. Just go with something stunningly original like, oh, I don't know, Arial. Bold 14. Drag that on there. Alright. Now I'm going to need multiples of this button, and I'll probably need this button later for other things. So we're going to go ahead and go gallery add select, gallery add selected objects. Give this thing a name. So it appears now in my gallery. I can reuse it. There. Another one right about here. And it's not my first day at the rodeo, so I know I also need an edit box. Edit box needs to be the same size as my buttons. It needs to use the same text style as my buttons. Same text color. The background of my screen, the background of my edit box need to be the same color. So let's create a background color here real quick. Nice off gray. I hold the control key down, it becomes the background color. Drag it on there, make it the background color for that. Drag it on there, make it the border color for that. And last but not least, let's center this. There we go. Those are the 4 things I need. How do I know? Because I've done this before. What am I going to do with those? Well, I need page navigation buttons, right? All right. Let's go to the design tree. Go to control panels, custom control panels. There's my technicians page. Just grab it, and drag it over, and drop it onto the button. And because I used a text button with the use control name feature turned on, ta-da, name appears automatically. Back to the design tree, grab System EQ, drag it over, drop it on. Back to the design tree, look under this computer this time instead of under control panels, and I can find a log off button. Cool. I also find a current user function to tell me who's logged in right now. Kind of cool. And I need all of these buttons, Control C, to appear on both pages. I'll need to fix my background color on this page. There we go. So now we have the exact same buttons on both pages. This is where our button highlight comes in. Personally, I like to take the button that's for this page, just change the text color on it, or the button color, either one. Just to give you kind of a visual indication of where in the heck you are. There we go. Maybe that highlight's a little bit obnoxious. There we go, tone it down just a touch. So there's what we have. Page nav buttons, log off button, current user status. Cool. Save this turkey. And go to operate mode. Let's use the log off button this time. I'll get his text. Cool. Can I move stuff? Yeah. Works good. Go to the System EQ page by clicking on the button. Nope. Security rights do not allow access to this operation. Okay. Can I log off? Absolutely. Log back in as manager. Move stuff. Yep. Works great. Can adjust the curve. Can I go to the text page from here? Yep. Works great. Can I move stuff? Sure. Can I go back to System EQ from the text page? Sure. I have access. My security rights give me access to that page. I'll log off. Log back in as admin. Back to design mode. Cool, huh? Now, if we're going to go to the trouble of creating this groovy looking page, You might also want to go Tools, File Preferences, Operating, Going Online, turn on the Go Full Screen mode. Okay. What that'll do is when I go to Operate mode, oh, wait a minute. Save as. Always save your work. Oh, wrong button. Operate's what I meant to hit. Now, on look kind of funny on your screen. The reason it looks kind of funny, I forgot to turn off span full screen across multiple monitors. I have 2 screens on my computer. And it'll come up here in just a second. As soon as the training software figures out what's going on. Hey. There we go. I forgot to turn off span full screen across multiple monitors. I have 2 monitors. Training software tried to squeeze that down into one display for you. Turn that off. That'll work a little better. Now we go to operate mode. That looks a little better. Let it catch up. There you go. Now all you see on your screen is what you've actually created. Plus a little 2-pixel gray border on the outside. But, big deal. I'm currently logged in as the admin. I can log off, become the text. Everything still works. Still can't get to the System EQ page. Log off, become the manager. I start on System EQ. I can go to text if I want to. Back to System EQ. Go back to being admin. Uh-oh. How do I get back to design mode? My little button down here is missing. The little design mode button is missing. Live in full screen mode. I could have put a button on the control panel that said return to design mode. But for my money, that's kind of a lame way to do it. Because the only person who ever needs that button is the admin. As the admin, I think we should memorize the shortcut keys, make our lives easier. And in this case, if you don't take any notes over 2 days of training, write this one thing down anyhow. Get out of operate mode into design mode. You have no screen controls to click on. Shift F5. That's the stop command. Shift F5. Take you back over there. Now, what about giving, let's say we want to set it up so the technicians could see the System EQ page, but they can't change anything on it. You know, maybe it's 8 o'clock at night, something's weird about the system. They don't want to have to call the manager to come in from home just to look at the System EQ page. Doesn't make any sense. Go back to Setup Design Security. Clear the undo buffer. Go to Text. We'll go to the System EQ page. Now we're not going to give them full control, but we'll give them read-only control, read-only access. Do a save as on that. Go to operate mode. Let's log off and log back in as text. Okay, we didn't break anything yet, did we? No, let's see. Still works. Can we go to the System EQ page? Hey, cool. Can I actually go over there? Can I grab this filter and move it? You guys can't see this because the training software turns my cursor into that stupid little arrow with the guy next to it and the projection screen behind him. But in London Architect, my cursor, when I hover over this node, the cursor changes to a hand, which is what it does when you're about to grab the node and move it. Well, if I grab this node and move it, nothing happens. I can't actually grab it. I click on the bypass button, nothing happens. I can't actually click on any of this stuff. So we got exactly what we wanted. Cool. All right. Let's log off. I said let's log off. Oops. Read only. What's this say? It says log off. Yep, I read it. Can't click on it, but I can read it. Text page, I can read it. Can't click on it. Oops. Kind of a problem, don't you think? When you do this to yourself, not if, but when, because eventually if you play with security, you will drive yourself into a little blind alley like this. You're stuck. You have a couple of options. First option would be Control-Delete, because you can just crash out, relaunch London Architect, and when it says, do you want to recover the design file, say yes. All right, it's not terribly eloquent, or elegant, I mean. The other thing we do is Control-L, which is log off. That'll bring up the log off dialog, just like that. Or go back in there and make the same mistake again. Or go. I can use a Windows command. Alt-Tab takes you between Windows programs, right? Control-Tab takes you between the windows of the currently active program. So Control-Tab right now, two windows open. Text page and the System EQ page. If I hit Control-Tab, it'll pop me back over here. Now, not a good way to teach people how to navigate, but for us, the admin, for the programmers, it's a way to get back so we can click on Log Off. Back to admin, log back on, Shift F5, and let's fix our goof. We'll go back to Design Security Settings, switch back to the technicians again, and instead of giving them read-only access, we'll give them hyperlinks only access. Huh? The heck is that? Let's see. The hyperlink. A hyperlink is anything that causes a page flip. Anything that causes a page flip is a hyperlink. Obviously, you can use text buttons as hyperlinks, but you can also use graphic buttons. You can also use hyperlink objects, go figure. You can also use region buttons. You can also use a vector button. What am I missing? Which one? Oh, tab button. You can also use a tab button. Do it. Now let me put better color on the hyperlink. There we go. You can actually see the silly thing. And I'll put a control on the graphic button. So hit 5 large yellow. There we go. So you can see that one. Now each one of these can be programmed with our page flip information. Grab it off the design tree, drag it on. There we go. The hyperlink, by the way, you can reprogram it to say whatever you want to say. If you don't put any text in it, it'll say the control name. Put the text in there, it'll say whatever you want to say. Vector buttons, each one of these different types of buttons have an advantage or disadvantage. Hyperlinks look like text. Duh. A vector button is a button that is drawn in vector format on your screen, which means it draws very quickly and does not take much processor, or I shouldn't say, doesn't take much graphics processing power. Draw it. It's a very quick and easy button. If you're creating a control panel with lots and lots and lots of buttons on it, and it's getting slow, popping in a vector button can speed things up. The tab buttons automatically name themselves, and they also automatically change to their off state or on state to look like a set of tabs. Now, for this particular use, it's kind of a no-brainer. Using a tab button, I just leave the tabs turned on instead, but you can do a tab button if you wanted to. And then there's the region button and the graphic button. The region button and the graphic button operate in two distinctly different ways. It's important to note they both have this gray outside surround. I can resize the region button to make it smaller if I want to. Nope. But they react in totally different ways. And the difference is, right now my cursor is inside the gray bounding box that's outside the graphic button, right? If I go to soft operate mode and I click, page flip happens. Contrary-wise, if I go to a region button, my cursor is inside the bounding box but outside the graphic region. If I go ahead and go to soft operate mode and click, nothing happens, no page flip. It won't flip unless I click inside region. This can be very useful when you want to put images over a bitmap. I'm sorry, if you want to put buttons over a bitmap. If you have a bitmap of like the campus or the building or whatever, you can take these and lay them out and change their size and shape relatively easily by adding additional vertices and make the vector button into whatever shape you want it to be. And only that colored area will be your active touch area. They all have advantages and disadvantages. They're all different. It's important to note, actually, the vector button has, or the region button has one other thing going for it. Let me skinny this down, put it out of the way. The region button, if I go to soft operate mode, it's this gray block, right? So it's currently off. I can change the off color if I want. Make it look nice, whatever color I want it to be. I can also change the opacity on that. Opacity is the opposite of transparency. So if I go 50, it's 50% opaque, 50% transparent. So in soft operate mode, I can see through it. If I wanted this to be just a little ghost image over the top of something, I can set the opacity to 10%. And then in operate mode, you can barely tell it's there. If I go to 0 on the opacity, operate mode, there we go. In operate mode, it disappears. It's still there and it still functions. It still works the way it's supposed to. You can't see it. That's probably the most common use for a region button. Turn it invisible and put it over something else, a picture or something, whatever the case might be. So each one of those buttons serves a different purpose, a different functionality. Now let me point out vector faders, vector rotaries, graphic faders, graphic rotaries. I can assign pages to them too. All the cool little thoughts you just had of, oh, the things I could do with that, no, you can't. None of it works. Okay, this is a total throwaway, worthless feature. In London Architect, basically, long story short, any part of the software can interact with other parts as long as it's not been prohibited. Well, nobody bothered to prohibit page flips from being on vector faders or graphic faders. But what you get is you click on the fader and start dragging it. Nothing happens until you get to the halfway point, and then it flips. And you cannot link this fader with anything else. So, a bit lacking in what's the point. But it does work, just so you know. Okay. Those are different types of hyperlinks. Let's go ahead and check this. Remember, we set it for hyperlinks only access. Log in as a text. Go to the System EQ page. Try to change something. I can't. Try to log off. Ugh. I still can't log off. Why not? I'm never going to be able to log off because the log off is not a hyperlink. But I can hyperlink over to the text page, then log off. That's how that works. There we go. Any questions on security so far? Okay. There is a special type of user that we can create. In the past, we always had a couple of pretty lame possible solutions. When it was time to send the design file with the guys on site to actually configure it. Those options were, number one, give them the admin password. Because then they have access to whatever they need to configure the system. That's not a great answer. Option number two was to take all the default control panels, copy everything they might possibly need onto the custom control panel. It's not a good option either. It takes forever to do. Third option, you go on site with them and type in your password. Well, that stinks too. I don't want to do that. Better option is to create a special user, and we'll call it our installer. Give that installer control panels only access. Control panels only access. Now, very important note. When you create a new user, the first time you log in that new user, you don't want to be in full screen mode. That's why I turn it off. Let's go take a look at what the control panels only user can do for us. Operate mode, log off as the admin and log on as the installer. It looks pretty boring so far. But the installer, unlike the tech or the manager, can go view, design, system layouts, main, and then close the design tree. Nobody else can do that except admin. What this allows that user to do, I'll open up main in the default config. I'm going to log back off, back to admin, back to design mode. Now I can turn my full screen mode back on. Save the file, go back to operate mode, and I'll show you how it works. Log off, log in as text. All right. Log off, log in as installer. All right. It takes me back to the last page I was looking at in design mode. Now, if I wanted to flip to one of the control panels right now, or flip to the main layout page, what do? Control Tab. Tab takes me to the next page. This case is the main layout page. Control Tab takes me to the text control panel. And there it is. Control Tab takes us to the System EQ control panel. And then back to the configuration page. So it just flips us through them one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you notice there's no way to close this window. There's no close button up there. If your little green thing is in the way, click on the button to make it go away, your little transparent overlay. There's no close button up there. Anything that you open up for a user who has control panels only access, anything you open up in, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Anything that's open before you go into operate mode will come up with no close button. Anything you open after you get into operate mode will have a close button. Like, for instance, if I double click on this south mixer, what's going to happen is the default control panel for that south mixer is going to pop up. I can adjust it and then close it. Then go to the EQ. So the trading software catches up. There we go. And close that one. I don't want to be able to close this page, though, because if I close this page, how do I get it back? Kind of out of luck. Well, I can actually force it closed. Control F4. Which still leaves me with this page open. As long as this page is open, I can double-click and get my configuration window back open. If I close them both with Control F4, I'm out of luck. There's no way to open those pages in design mode. Control panel only access, in case you missed it, if I click once, nothing happens. If I click on a wire, nothing happens. If I try and click and drag, nothing happens. Control panel's only access will not allow you to select objects, only allow you to edit control panels. You can't accidentally delete something. That's cool. That's big time cool. And then when you're done, you can either Control L or you can Control Tab over to one of the pages where you can log out, log in as somebody else. And when you're done installing the system, you're ready to turn it over to the owners, just go in, find the installer login. Catch up there, there we go. Find the installer login and do a delete user. Don't need it, now it's gone. Now we had a question here. It says, once security is enabled, do you have to sign in when you open the file? Yes, you do. Once you have enabled security, every time you open the design file, it's going to ask you to log in. Not a big deal, though, because check this out. Once security is done, it's all set up, it's ready to go. Okay? Everything else from here on is just me tweaking the design file, which could be a lot, tons of tweaks. If I disable security, it asks me, do you want to erase the security settings or just turn them off? If you want to keep them so you can turn them back on later, hit yes. Now security is turned off. Now I don't have to log in every time I open the design file, but I can turn it back on with one click and all the settings are saved. It still knows about hyperlinks only mode for the text, all that happy stuff. Any questions on that, on security in general? I'll go ahead and load this design file to my Blue 16. Hit OK. Now I've got passwords in place, so as long as I don't log on as admin, the log off button not working. Oh, I turned off security. Duh. Turn it back on. So this is what the users will see when they first fire up the design file in the morning. They'll go to their login, they'll log into the system. I have passwords in place, so Zippy, the disgruntled employee, can't hurt me. He can't delete anything. However, back to admin, what could Zippy, the disgruntled employee, do? Save this file first. What if Zippy, instead of loading the design file in the morning, he's going to quit. He hates your guts. He's all ticked off because he can't make more than $400,000 a year doing this. He thinks he deserves more money. But instead of opening the design file, he hits File New. He places a Blue 16 in there, gives it the correct name, and hits the load button, the run button. He's going to load an empty design file into your system. That's probably the least destructive thing he could do. If he wanted to, he'd go in there and wire some inputs directly to the outputs. Take a full range signal and run it into your high frequency drivers. Or run it through a couple of gains real quick and boost it by 60 dB. With a square wave coming out the out. Drive that into your high frequency drivers. So how do you stop Zippy from doing that? Well, what you do is you go back to your original design file. Log in as admin. You say Tools, set up box security settings. You're about to enable box security. If the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return this device to BSS Audio. If the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return this device to BSS Audio. If the password is forgotten, you will be required to return this device to BSS Audio. All right, I told you 3 times. Don't forget it. What the heck is box security? Well, I turn it on, I enable box security, and I type in a password. Oh, something stunning and original like box, maybe. I hit OK. I hit close. That box security password is now embedded in this design file. No way to find out what it is. It's just embedded in the design file. When I go online the next time, I hit needs loading. Wait for it. There we go. I hit needs loading. What happens is London Architect says to the Blue 16, hey, do you have a box security password? Blue 16 says no. London Architect says, well, you do now. And it gives it the password out of that design file. That's now the box security password for that device. If I go Shift F5 back to the design mode, I go, let's save this file first of all. I go back into Zippy, the disgruntled employee mode. Now, if I looked at the network, I might be smart enough to notice that, wait a minute, this Blue 16 in the network window now says Blue 16 secure. Huh? What does that mean? I don't care. I just hate these guys. I want to ruin their day. Take a blank Blue 16, I'm going to load it to their system. Hit the run button. Hit the needs loading button when it comes up. Please enter the password to connect to this device. Uh-oh. What's the password, Zippy? I don't know. Once you enable box security, the only way to load a design file into that device is either A, type the password in manually right here, or B, have that password embedded in the design file you want to upload. Have it match. In other words, once you turn on box security, your design file works perfectly. Always will. Never have to enter the password ever again. It's going to just work every time. But nobody else's design file will work. It's kind of cool. Especially now that we're talking about networks that are Ethernet. Maybe you've got wireless access set up. You can roam around the facility with your laptop. Well, what happens when Zippy finds your access point, hacks in with his laptop, downloads an architect from the web, wants to erase your system? Box security will stop that from happening. If you don't have it, you can't upload. However, forget. Password is forgotten. You'll be required to return the device to BSS Audio. There is no field reset. If you lock a device with box security and then forget the password, you're out of luck. Send it back to Sandy, Utah. They put it through the AP process just like it was a brand new device coming off the factory floor. They erase everything, reload the original firmware, wipe out the design file, everything. And you now have a factory fresh, brand new box. Yay. What about loading firmware into a unit that has box security set? You can load firmware, no problem. It's not going to have any effect on box security because the box security password, although it starts off life embedded in your design file, as soon as you give it to the device, it's now stored elsewhere in the device. So if you upload new firmware, that always wipes out your IP address, your HiQNet address, it erases your design file, it resets all that stuff. Not reset box security. Box security would kind of suck if you could get around it just by uploading new firmware, wouldn't it? So that's box security. Any more questions about it? Nobody? All right, cool. We're just a minute or two late here. So let's go until 12 after. I'll get you about 10 minutes plus. And this time I promise to actually put the stupid clock on the screen for you. There we go. See you guys back here in 10 minutes.